We built the church. Her sons built the church for her.
I'm excited. Are you excited, Granny?
I'm just afraid I do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing.
Why? Don't be afraid.
Well,
She ain't afraid.
I'm a big talker, but when you put it on a piece of paper,
That's a different story, isn't it?
different story.
This is pretty exciting, Granny.
We're about to tell the story of Kelly Driver Sr. and Canara Idessa College Driver. They married June 5th, 1937, and they were married by the postman on the side of the road, Highway 49, in front of a grocery store that used to be called Duke's Grocery Store. The mailman performed the ceremony. And she was 15 years old, and Kelly was about 30. So that is the beginning of the story. And maybe she'll tell you about when she was a little girl, her parents, and start the story.
My parents, Leona, Collier, Shara. My grandmother that raised me mostly was Mary Collier. I never really had a daddy.
He had a name, though. What was his name?
Jewel Nix,
And what color was he?
white.
Did you meet him?
Yes, I met him.
Did you ever meet his mother?
Oh yes, Miss Liza Nix.
Did
I
she
did.
ever do anything for you?
Yes, they gave him money for when I was born.
What happened to the money?
Oh, that's the bad story right there. My uncle, he carried the money to the bank, and it was enough to buy a new car at that time. And he told the people that he worked for about the money, and somehow way he loaned them the money, and that went the new car and the money, and I didn't get it. And that's the end of that one.
Was she a hard-working lady?
Oh yes, my mother worked hard.
She was a help. And was she a very humble helper?
Not much. She didn't have she wasn't no humbler much. She pretty well stood ground.
Tell about the time that the man was going to cut her. The boss man was going to cut her pay. She was doing housework, and he said he was going to have to cut her pay.
Oh yes, during the Depression days, said that gonna cut your your wages. So she hit the road. She said, make me a bill to pick with the chickens for a while. Work for any less. She's making about $3.50 there. She made 50-cent washing for another lady. So she hit the road walking. The master, his daughter and her husband came and caught her and got her and carried her back to her job.
And when she got back to the job, what was the master doing?
Taking the clothes off the line. The lady had run him outdoors, making him bring the clothes in. He said he looked so pitiful trying to get the clothes off the line.
So she didn't lose her job,
She didn't lose her job.
And she was the only one working, right?
She was the only one working the days of depression. No food, nowhere. You kill her. And if you went to the river to fish at the creek, the law would get you. You couldn't catch nothing. And it didn't rain for 4 months.
Did you have any brothers or sisters?
Had brothers and sisters.
And that was later on.
Later on, my mother was just a girl. When I was born, she was about 14 years old. Later on, she was married and had a brother, and I had a brother, brother and sister.
And you said your mother only made 50 cents. Was that 50 cents a day?
No. She made $3.50 a week and 50 cents extra for washing. That made her $4 a week. Now but she didn't work on Sundays. She got off on Saturdays at about 2 o'clock, and she didn't work on Sundays, unless it was special time,
Tell the story about the time she was washing clothes, and the man wanted her to call his wife Miss.
Oh, my grandfather was going through a lot. So one of the young men where she worked, I think they were grinding sausage. She said, well, there goes my granddad. He said, put a handle on my wife's name. She called her Annie. That was her name. She said, well, there goes my dad in there. You don't put no handle on his name. And he said, well, that's a nigger. She said, uh-oh. He had to turn her, come up there and pull her off of it. Because my mom would fight. And they got through fighting. He got them separated. When they got through fighting, went on back grinding sausage. That was the end of that. Mom would fight anybody, anytime. There was never no get gone, because they just had to fight and that was it.
What did your birth certificate list you as when you were born?
When I was born, I went overseas, Andrew. What did you remember?
You know, I don't remember. I think color. No, when one of her children was born, they listed her as a negress.
Oh, Lord.
That just upset my brother Gaston very much.
It upset him.
Who was that? Who was called that?
Huh?
Whose birth certificate was that?
I don't know. It wasn't on all of ours. Was it on Gaston's? It was on one child's birth certificate. She was negress. That offended him much.
How did you feel growing up in the Great Depression?
How did I feel? Well, I was just small, and all I know just when they would eat a bite here and yonder. And I think homebrew kept me alive.
Tell them about the home brew.
My uncle made the homebrew, and my grandmother prayed. And he said, Mammy, I got to make a living some kind of way. And he'd make and I drank the skimmings off the homebrew. And it didn't rain for 4 months. People don't talk about that much now, because that was a great depression. So, most people farmed.
Tell about Daddy. I think we could move on toward the marriage. Tell about Daddy picking you out.
To marry me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, Lord, I don't know. He just picked me out.
One day they were at an outing. We used to have what we call basket dinners.
Yeah.
And they were at church. And he was with an older man himself. And see, Dad is 15 years older than Mom, right? And Mama was about 9 or 10.
Just a little bitty girl.
And he said, I'm going to marry
probably
her. And he didn't marry anybody else. And he didn't marry her until he married Mama, 15.
And somebody had told him, said, oh, that's just a little child. He said, yeah, but well, she's going to be grown one day. And so.
And
what did you do when you first saw Granddaddy?
What did I do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, honey, he had a car. And
I meant to have brought a picture of the car. He had a car, and Mama said she and her friend would dress up in long dresses. They were children now. Dressed because they knew he was going to go down the road by the house. And they dressed up in long dresses and sat out there and waited for him. And they waited and waited. And by the time the mom called him to come in the house to help with dinner, he went down the road. He said he didn't get to see him in their long dresses. She said she doesn't know why they wore long dresses. And then she married Dad, and they moved down to Bellsburg.
When you guys were married, was it a time where a lot of race issues?
yes, especially it was pretty rough in the South. It was bad.
Can you explain some of that to us?
But nobody did bother me because I didn't know nothing about it.
But let me explain this. There was so much difference in Cumberland Furnace, where she grew up, and here in Bellsburg. The white people treated the black people, maybe 75% to 100% better.
Yeah.
You know, they allowed them to be, like my grandmother fought. Well, here, don't tell them what would happen to them. Where my mom was a young child, her grandmother was voting. They would pick her up in a car, the Republicans, and take her to the poll to vote. In West Tennessee, and that's in the 30s, and in West Tennessee in the 60s, when the people voted, they made them move off the land, and they had to live in tents. So see the difference in here, even in Tennessee, there was this wide range of the way people treated people. Also, my Aunt Judy, her aunt, went to court about owing somebody white. Well, you know, you would always lose down south, but not in Dixon County where they lived. The judge ruled in the black people's favor. Her cousin, who would not even address the white person as Mr., he called him by his name. You didn't get away with that in Brownsville, Tennessee, and probably here in National City, you know? So there was just a wide range of treatments going on. And like Mom said, she played with white children, and she really, black folks kept to themselves mostly when it came to social things. But other than that, she really didn't have a lot of problems or felt bad. Now, I faced more than she did, you know.
Yeah.
So when you were younger, what about your education?
I went to school, I was about 7, I reckon, and I lived with my Aunt Sarah Emerson. And then
She boarded. She went and stayed with her cousin through the week because she didn't go to school in her Cumberland Furnace where she lived. She went to Promised Land.
And
To the 6th grade
I finished the 6th grade.
and got married.
Then my husband came and got me.
What about granddaddy? How old? What about grandfather's schooling?
His daddy could read and write, but there had come a law in there. The white people was giving the black people a hard time, and so they, why go to school, which ain't gonna amount to nothing. So they pulled him out of school. Long about that. But my husband's daddy, he could read and write, but it's a few years in there where they had that Jim Crow law.
The feeling was, like you say, they weren't going to be able to do anything but farm anyway. So why go to school and get
And
an
they dropped
education?
out.
Yeah, that was.
Some of them dropped out.
And especially a men.
Yeah.
A lot of men didn't. A lot of boys didn't go to school.
But Kitty's dad, he could read and write, but his mother couldn't.
So you were saying that you didn't feel any you couldn't tell any type of
Not to amount to too much.
okay, because you just ignored it if someone bothered you with anything.
Well, I grew up in a white neighborhood.
Okay.
See, we were the only black family that lived in that white neighborhood. Maybe somebody might live there a little while. Black people did it just maybe a little bit. But to stay there, we stayed there 10 years. Fought with them, played with them, ate with them, and whatever. And you know.
And they kind of petted Mom. She said one time a lady had her babysitting and carrying water so she could wash. Which one, Mama?
Okay.
And she said the other lady came on and said she's not supposed to have you doing that. When I come back by, I'm going to call you. You come with me.
Yeah.
So, and they were both white. So they sort of petted her. She was sort of.
Yeah. See, I was the only little child there in the neighborhood.
And did you learn to drive?
Yes. Oh Lord, yes.
She had children at that time.
After I had children.
Yes, you had children. Okay.
She drove in double O. And
And the truck.
in the truck.
So were you one of the first to learn to drive in the area?
A teacher came out of Nashville, and she would come down and drive. Oh yes, and I didn't know I wasn't supposed to drive, because they had just started for women to drive a few years back, and it was someone had passed a law for just a few years. Of course, you know I wasn't supposed to drive a new car, and I didn't know I wasn't. So a white girl taught me how to drive. She taught me how to drive, and down the road I'd go. So,
Did you ever feel hard times when you were little?
well, it didn't rain for 4 months. I guess I didn't know what hard times were. Did I ever feel hard times?
Mm-hmm.
No. Didn't see my mama. Everything that was bought, it was for me at that time.
And I think things are comparative because everybody is kind of equal. Everybody's eating about the same and living almost the same. Some people look cleaner than others, but other than that, I think that made it not you're not noticing, when the basket dinners came, you got your hair fixed and you got new shoes that hurt your feet, a new dress. And so, you really didn't see hard times as hard times. Hard times is when everybody else is getting something and you're not getting it, then you notice. But I think that's why she said, and she was happy. She lived in a community that was a happy community too.
So what about Granddaddy?
Okay. Granddaddy has his father worked on the river, and his grandfather fought in the war, and his grandmother was an Indian, full-blooded Indian. And we have Dorothy doesn't have the information as to what tribe she was from, but we have a picture. Great-granddaddy's mother and father on my dad's side, on his father's side, and this was his and he is the one that fought in the war, and his wife, I don't think she applied for a pension, but I don't think she got it. And if I see in here,
And she was full Indian?
she was full Indian. My father's grandmother on his mother's side was mixed, and her father was a Bell, that from the group of Bells that the Montgomery Bell is named for. My grandmother, which is my dad's mother, she did a little work, did a little help outside, maybe clean or iron a little bit, but that wasn't a daily thing. She mostly just kept house. So she had, I think, 8 or 9 children. I have their names here somewhere. 2 of them died rather young, and the others lived to be older. My dad's group, he now has 1 sister living, and she will be 91 this fall. She's still quite active, quite alert and cute. And my dad, he farmed for a while. He sharecropped. He built his wife a house pretty soon. I think they were married just a few months when he got his house built. And they had a new house, and he farmed. But something happened, and I'll let Mom fill that in. And he decided to go work at a sawmill. What happened, Mom?
While he was farming, one war broke out,
Okay.
and he really didn't make but $1 a day
Right.
when he worked, because he did hardly ever did get to work. But he had, we raised cows and hogs and chickens, ducks, turkeys. I even had turkeys. And then after the war broke out, he went on working in there. So they wanted him to come back to the farm, and somebody said, well, if money will keep you, we're going to keep you. And so they raised his wages. And we thought we had a lot of money for a while there. We had the radio and the telephone, and we was kind of living good. And then we worked for another man 10 more years. And then the first thing to come up, we're fixing to move, we go get better. So we left that and came out here.
When was that again?
The war started in December the 7th, 41. We stayed there up to 10 years. And then we took, in 1950, he went on another job. And then before 50 was out, I think we moved here.
What other job did he do after he left the sawmill?
Sawmill, what did he do? Building a house.
Building houses.
Pouring concrete. Didn't wear the uniforms, but they would use the hammer.
Did a lot of people do concrete back then?
Well, they had just started having the pouring basements. So we were some of the first people that had their basement. They had basements, cellars, but they didn't have basements here. We have a full basement, like you can cook in the basement.
A finished basement.
a finished basement. It's a room.
Uh-huh.
But
And when he started working, doing concrete, who worked with him?
Gaston, his son,
Gaston, Kelly, Mar,
when they could slip off
and Jerry.
uh
When they could slip off of what?
from school or whatever. Anyway, they all learned to do that just so they didn't put the uniform on.
What's the uniform? Going to the war?
No, they weren't supposed to be carpenters.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
What were
Why?
they supposed to be?
Well, they just didn't want the black boys to wear the carpenter suit.
Oh,
You don't know that one.
I didn't know that one.
Uh-huh. They could build a house, but don't put on the
Uniform. The
uniform.
outfit.
Uh-huh. A lot of people don't know that one.
I didn't know that.
Now we do.
Now you know. Yeah.
And then they taught others to do the same, right?
The family business, concrete, for a long time.
The concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. Oh, my husband did. Went into doing the concrete and finishing, and then the boys. He could nail too, but Gaston was his sons was mostly went into a lot of the building. Of course, he could build too, but he just wouldn't do it right. I ain't supposed to say that.
Was it hard?
Uh,
Was it hard for them to get business?
no, never. Never hard.
Was it hard for Granddaddy when he first started to get business?
No, never.
And so from the uncles, it's progressed into some of the nephews. Patrick?
And
Yeah, they went on to
married.
Chicago.
Yes, they went to Chicago and he started to do the,
Yeah.
he opened up his
Yeah.
Terrell Materials.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you go into the airport there, that's what you'll see.
James and Patrick, yeah, James.
Builders.
Yes.
Yeah, builders.
And so from that, they progressed into Terrell Materials and working on the O'Hare Airport.
That's right.
So it's progressed through the whole generations.
Yeah.
How many siblings? How many kids do you have, Granny?
I have 9.
Did you ever have more than 9?
she had one stillborn.
Little boy.
Little boy. So how many girls, how many boys?
5 girls now and 4 boys.
Did you always want a big family?
I like a big family.
Did every child have their own? What was the daily routine?
What was the children's daily routine?
Mm-hmm.
Cooking, washing, name it. We done all. You couldn't line them up wrong because I taught them, every one of them. They all learned how they were A&I students. At that time, they called it A&I. They may call it different now.
Tennessee State University.
State University, okay.
Yeah.
But over there at A&I, you could learn how to cook, sew.
Can you tell us something about each child?
Well, I don't know nothing in particular, but I think they all done well.
Well, just tell her something about it. I'm Annie Ruth. Tell us something about me.
Oh, Andrew,
What did I do?
the greatest, one of the greatest. I don't know.
What did I do? I mean, what was my profession? What did I do?
You taught school, and what else did you do? Done everything. What else?
I have 3 children.
You had 3 children and taught school, and I don't know.
And tell what did Gaston do?
He's a builder. You build anything you want to. Drive a car and build a house. You name it, and he can do it.
What about Aunt Sarah?
Oh, Sarah, what did Sarah do? She'd run around the world. Where did she go to?
Everywhere.
Every country. Every country.
What about Aunt Patricia?
She's my seamstress. She makes drapes, and
She's a health minister.
she's a health minister. I mean a health ministry. Oh, Lord.
What about Aunt Niva?
Niva. Well, Niva, she's my real worker. She works too hard sometimes.
What about Aunt Mary?
She's a teacher's assistant. Aunt Mary's a
And care
teacher's
for the children.
foster mother.
Uh-huh.
What about Uncle Mark?
Well, neither. Y'all gotta help me though.
He's a very gifted builder.
Yeah.
What's something special about Uncle Kelly?
That would be special.
He's good at building also. He fixes things
Yeah, they all
well.
build. All
He's a
of
very
And the
good
baby
builder.
Jerry?
He's very
Jerry. Well, he kind of laid back.
He's a good builder.
He's a builder.
And the baby?
And the baby.
And the baby. And the baby's laid back. He knows what to do, when to do it, how to do it. But he cool. And I'm sure you got that one.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
You got that one, okay. She knows.
I know.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us a little bit about when you were a pastor? When you were preaching?
Well, when I was a little girl, I used to go to the Pentecostal church. My mother would carry me when I was just a little girl. And this woman come out of St. Louis, and they would build a highway from Dixon to Clarksville. And they followed the highways, lots of people. And my mother would carry me up to hear her preach. And I liked it. And then a white fella used to come by our house and talk about the Lord a lot. And I liked that. And I just loved the Lord. I would go and tell people about Jesus. And I didn't have no church. But I just loved to go and talk about the Lord. I said that Jesus is down in you. And it's up to you to get him out. And if you lose your soul, that's your fault. Ain't that sweet? And that's the whole thing. And so, if you got 3 fingers pointed at yourself, and one pointed at the other, you always want to tell the other fella he's wrong. But let's get ourselves wrong, because he died for us, and he's within us.
Can you tell us a bit about when you got sick?
When I got sick,
Mm-hmm.
boy, I was sick unto death. I said cut my throat. That's the wrong way to say it, though. What do I say?
You had a surgery. They removed some parathyroids.
Okay. But I said, hold on, cut my throat.
Yeah, that surgery. That surgery.
And then I stayed in the hospital so long, I caught
Spinal meningitis.
spinal meningitis with somebody across the room. And that almost killed me. And then I came home. And
I took care of Dad for a while.
so,
Got well enough to take care of Dad.
So how many grandchildren do you have? A bunch?
oh, I don't know. It's probably 90. I don't know.
And you're a great-great-grandmother.
Uh-huh. See, and I remember my grandmother's mother, Susan Nash, Fadler. Then my grandmother, Mary Collier. And then my mama, and then me, and then Aunt Ruth, and all. What is it? 5 or 6 generations?
5
8 generations.
living, yeah.
Uh-huh. I remember seeing 8 generations.
For 5 are living.
About the Bells again. So you said we have 2 sets of Bell families, a white side on Granddaddy's, and then another part of a Bell. Is that correct?
Just the white side is on Granddaddy's.
Now, he was a very famous,
This
Who
is
was very famous?
the Bell.
How was he very famous?
this is rich.
He had 2 black concubines, and he never was married. And they were black women. Then this bridge down here is named after him, Montgomery Bell. That was his name. And they built a new bridge down there now.
Is he named after Montgomery Bell State Park?
Yeah. That's
and,
it.
And he's part of the family.
Yeah. On my husband's side.
What picture are you holding up, Aunt Annie?
Now this picture is a picture of Kelly Driver Senior's mom, and she was a Bell. Her mother was the one that was the mulatto. She was the belle.
And can you tell me some more about her? What did she do?
She's the one that she was mostly a housewife. She was illiterate, but she would, and in as much as she was illiterate, she wouldn't sign any papers. They bring papers to her and they say, she says, I can't read it, I'm not going to sign it. So she would not sign anything. And she was a very neat, spiffy lady, but she could not read, and she was strong,
Very strong.
very strong. Took care of herself.
Good. What's the other picture?
And this says great grandma Lou Jackson, and that she married Wiley Bell.
So Wiley Bell, who is Wiley Bell? Is that him in the picture?
That Wiley Bell is her husband. That's not Wiley Bell on the picture.
Okay.
I'm so glad you asked that. That is her nephew.
Is he white?
He's mixed.
He's mixed.
He looks white.
So back then, there was a lot of people who, even though there was a lot of issues going on with race, a lot of intermingling.
A lot of intermingling, and in most cases, they did not recognize their children. You know, they didn't admit or take care of their children. Mm-hmm. But in some cases, they did talk to them and gave them money or took care of them. But it just depended, like I said again, on where you were located and what kind of man or men these were.
Did you ever have any problems, Granny, with the KKK or any type of thing like that?
No.
No.
I didn't know they existed, I reckon. I never paid no attention, really. Because I really grew up with the white people and kind of the middle class of white people.
Okay.
And of course, when I got old enough to marry their son, wasn't so lovable probably. But as a little child, they didn't do too much, you know, I don't remember.
Sarah had an incident, her daughter. She was going to go to school to be a student at TSU, and she had gotten a job living on the place. She was supposed to live with these white people and sort of be an assistant to their daughter, who was the same age. And when the ladies, she hired her, but when she saw her, she said, I can't use her. And Mom said, oh, she's a nice girl. She said, I'm sure she is, but I can't use her.
Because the white
girls
was
because
gonna like
she
her.
was too pretty.
They were gonna like her.
She would first had the job, met her at the Harvey's to hire her, and she one look at her and she said, I can't use her. So those are kinds of things we as her children suffered more from the hands of the white people than she did.
Yeah, because I was in the
came
middle
from a
class.
sheltered environment to where they cared for her, to a community where it was not that nice.
Yeah, the little white boys, he was my best little friend. I played with him, and I came home one day and I told the children, I said, when he saw me after I married, I believe he cried. Does is that you?
And when we had a friend we walked to school with, and he loved us. He played with us all the time. And we walked to school with him. We get down to about a mile from the school. He said, y'all stop and wait right here while I run and get in front and go to school. So he didn't want the children to see him walking to school with us. I mean, I'm sure they teased him. So.
Yeah, and it really was sometimes the older people that caused it. Because where Gaston lives now, see, she went for white. You'd be surprised how many people, black people, went for white. Now, where Gaston lives, Miss Gertie Jackson, she went for white. She worked on a boat. And her husband, of course, he was black, and he was on the boat, he was the cook. But she was waiting in the dining room on the boat. And did nobody work on that boat in the dining room but white women. And she went for it. So you would be surprised how many black people went for white. Yeah. So when it's a little baby come up later on don't look just right. You know what's wrong with it? Went out the line.
The black cat.
Got a little black in there. Yeah, 'cause she went for white, Miss Gertie Jackson.
And this is my dad's living sister with my brother Mark. Her name is Mabel. She'll be 91 this fall. And that's Mark, her nephew, my brother, dad's son, his second son, third son, Mark.
When great granddaddy was in the war, did he get shot?
Yes,
But he survived.
it's a guy.
And didn't he live to be how old? He
I've lost that, but he lived to be much older.
was he almost 100?
I think he was 90, in his 90s, because that's what Mark said. I thought sure that our dad was going to live to be older, and he was 93, but he thought he died young. Well, Mark thought he died young.
Because we tend to live in our family long.
And he thought that wasn't quite long enough. Yeah.
I married when I was 15, educated all my children, and I have no regrets. Didn't know nothing, didn't see nothing, didn't worry about nothing too much. Went to church, drove my car, and
You
just had a
you
good.
traveled too. You went. Where did you go?
Who?
Did you go to Europe? Where did
Yeah,
you
I
go?
went to Europe.
Who took you to Europe?
Sarah,
So
she carried me to Europe, and
she
Was
also
Aunt Sarah one of the first African American flight attendants?
she was. I think she was one of the first, if not the first,
that did what on.
was a flight attendant. She was one
Well,
of
I
the
think
first.
it was one or
Sawyer's,
two. It was
yeah.
one or two.
She was
Before.
among the first.
She was among the first ones,
She also was on radio.
and she would.
I don't remember the
no.
name of the program. Soul Train?
Yes, Soul
It
Train.
couldn't be Soul Train, could it? But it was
Yeah,
Soul
that was what it
something.
was.
Soul Train. She was an announcer on Soul Train. Mm-hmm.
And she would take her boyfriend with somewhere where he wouldn't hear her all Soul Train, because she was ashamed of Soul Train.
She's always been extremely proud.
Real proud.
Extremely. You tell them your grandchildren have had different professions, right?
We have doctors, lawyers, veterinarians.
Oh, you have a judge.
Yes, we have a judge,
Counselors.
teachers,
Mhm.
athletes.
Preachers.
We come from a very successful family.
Nurse.
Nurses, yeah.
Did we say Patricia's an interior decorator?
Yeah, that's
She's
right.
an interior decorator, yes.
Oh, yeah, she'd tear the house up. She'd have you make the prettiest drape. She'd have everything looking so pretty, but you'd come on, that's it. Her trade, and that is her trade.
What do you miss the most about Granddad?
Well, what do I miss the most? I don't know. He was a good provider. I never worked.
What would he say to you when it was cold, Mama?
Mom, are you cold? And I'd wonder, why did he think I was cold? That's when I was young.
And so now she get old.
Now
She wants
I
to
would-
cry about it. He said, Mama, are you warm?
Poor Daddy was a good provider for his family. He's a hard worker. And back then, when I married him, you wasn't supposed to marry no lazy man. And the first thing the old folks would tell you, don't you marry no lazy man. And one that, no drunkard. They had two things going. That's all they tell you. And you get in with the old people, they didn't worry about the young folks. He didn't worry about me, 'cause he gonna get me. So he worried about what the old folks would think of him. So if the old folks said he's all right, he's all right. So back when I married my husband, they didn't worry about, he showed it. Old people would talk him up. He's so smart. He ain't no drunkard. Oh, they like all of that. And then you got married. And I don't know, but out of all the people, I don't know about one person or two that never married. Maybe one. And two at the most. And I don't mean just where I live. I'm talking about
That you knew.
everywhere that I knew. Common Furnace, Promised Land, down here, Dixon, that I knew. They married. People married.
How is it legal for you guys to be married when the postman married?
Well, only thing if he had his papers, if he was cable. I believe she said it was a postman. I don't know whether he was a postman,
That's what you told me, the mailman.
but somebody. Cause we waited there at the store for him.
Yeah, it's a legal.
Yeah, it was legal
It's a
though.
legal
Cause he had to sign it.
Yeah.
You had to sign the paper. And that was all that was, you get your license and they would sign the paper. When they get married, they would have to sign the paper. And that you were formally married. And then later on, they had to have the banquets and then we would kind of dress up, but not to what they go through with now. They wait years to get married because they got to have a banquet and
A big wedding.
big wedding, and the baby's halfway up the head. And maybe I said the wrong thing. But anyway, it's a whole lot different. Well, did I leave out a lot? When she leaves, I'll be saying, I'll say this or that. But that scares me, right? Y'all ask me something, I sure tell you. What I say, I backed up the hill, I rode in a car, I rode on a mule.
You rode a mule.
Oh yeah, I rode in the buggy, backed up the hill.
What you mean back up here?
Had to get the fuel injector in the car. They didn't have a fuel injector. That was before they had the fuel injector.
How'd you back up
They
here?
may call it something else.
Did you push it up the hill?
Me and my grandmother had to get out and they'd go up the hill backwards in the car so the gas would go to the tank. And then when we get in the car, down the hill we'd go. And I remember that.
Tell about the flat tire.
About the what?
Flat tires. The flat tires. The blowouts.
Oh. Who was that? That's my name.
Uncle Cardell and the
Oh, he come down here to church. He didn't have two. I didn't have but two punctures. One going and one coming. He throw up the white shirt, and he carried his wash rag along with him. He'd pump that tire up right quick, and down the road we'd go. And he'd have his wet rag, because he know what's going to happen,
Did y'all get it? No blowouts.
Yeah,
He only had one going
Every
and
few
one coming.
miles.
Every few miles.
So,
How much land do you own, Granny?
do I own? I don't own anything now. I done gave it all away. Oh, Lord. This home, what I'm on over here, I don't know how much was here. For 6 acres, how much
It's
was
6 or 8, I don't know.
And then all of your children have land now.
Yeah, I gave away what I don't have anything. Just, everything belonged to them. Life-changing point was when I moved. I lived about 3 miles up the road.
Yeah.
And my husband just said, well, I've lost my job. And they was digging to go to the spring. They was going to run the water. I had everything but the water going in the house. When he came home, he said, well, I don't know what he told me. I said, don't dig no more. I said, we gonna move. That was my second. Most people would have said, oh, what will I do? But I didn't. I knew that I didn't want to be there. But the only thing about it, when I come out here, you can't have anything. But I moved. So I think that was a big thing in my life.
What about what's one of your most vivid memories of your whole life?
What do you think about the most?
I don't think about anything particular, but one of the big old funny memories I had is when the days of depression is when my grandmother killed a little Benny hen. And I think I told that a many times, so I must have been hurt. With nothing to eat. Nowhere.
Your Benny hen was your little pet, right?
My neighbor gave me the little Benny hen, the woman next door. And she said, I'm gonna have chicken and dumplings. And I thought, where in the world she gonna get a chicken? There ain't no chickens around here. And I picked the little old Benny hen up, and I held on like a child, I forgot it and put it down. And got up to the table, she had chicken and dumplings. They had chicken and dumplings.
So you didn't eat any?
Oh, no, I still ain't forgot. Thinking about my Benny hen. So I think that's one of my big little stories of growing up as a child, was the Benny hen. And as I got grown, I didn't see nothing much, and I didn't hear nothing, kind of done what I wanted to do. And they were like the word people of death, because I just didn't pay a lot of attention to nothing. I didn't know you weren't supposed to do that. Because I grew up with the people, I thought you done what you wanted to do. I enjoyed life. I enjoyed life. I don't think I worried too long about anything. And somebody tell me, oh, you weren't supposed to. I didn't know about it. So I thought, I never worried too much about nothing in life.
Is that how you've lived to be 91?
Probably so. I think about things, but to worry about it, no. I don't worry about it. Because I always tried to do what I wanted to do, or done what I wanted to do. But one thing I didn't do, and I wanted to give my children music, piano. And I bought one for Auntie Ruth. I don't know whether I had so much going and so much on me at that time, I don't know what happened, that I got up off the music. I don't know really what happened. And I hated that. I got the children their horns, and that's when Sarah first went to Europe. Brother Horn, she couldn't hop, she wasn't all that good, but she got to go. And
So you love music?
Well, I don't know that I loved it that much, but I wanted the children, I wanted them to be well educated and have music. And that's what I guess I did. Probably I did want to be a teacher. And I didn't make it.
So you never worked your whole life?
No, I never worked. No, a little bit,
Worked before you married.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. That was a little.
Tell them about the time you applied for a job when everybody else was working.
Oh, Lord. And the woman looked, I got my neighbor to keep my kids, and I went to apply for a job. She said, well, can you sit on your feet all day long? I said, I sure hate to know I had to. And that I went to job. So I just didn't ain't that pitiful? But I just, but I told the truth. 'Cause I'd hate to know I had to stand up all day. I just told, wasn't supposed to tell the truth, was it? But I told the truth.
They hired everybody else, didn't they?
Huh?
Hired everybody but you.
Well, I just told the truth. So.
About your eyesight, when did you lose your eyesight?
When did I lose my eyesight? When I went to the doctor and I blinked my eye, and out it went gradually, and I wasn't supposed to blink my eye. But if I would have filed for I would have got paid, but.
So you went to the doctor for what?
To pull the scab off my eye.
Cataracts?
Cataract,
Oh, so then The surgery caused you to go blind.
And so I had worked enough anyway, so I hate I lost my sight, but what I mean, as far as cooking anything, it's just about tired of that anyway, so.
I think she does so well with her thinking and memory for her age. I'm real happy about how the Lord has.
But I don't think I worried about anything too much. I don't worry about nothing too much. A lot of people worry. Something go wrong one way, I just turn and go another way. I never worried about nothing too much. Now, maybe I talk about something a little bit, but it's not because I worry about it. Don't worry. Some people worry a lot, but I don't think I worry about nothing. I just move on. I find out it was nothing you can do about a situation, just turn and go another way. Why sit there and grieve over that? Just do something else. If that fella don't love you, that don't go right. A little girl comes and helps me, and she's so much, and she's a little bit heavy. And I told her, she's got to get this weight gone. But I quit bothering her much about that. But now she's decided to get on her diet and get her weight gone. I don't worry too much about, or I may think about a little bit, things that are past. The other night I thought about something and got to laugh and got to study about how funny it was.
Do you want to tell them about how you started your church? Where did you start?
In the basement.
No, in the living room.
How did it start?
In the living room, right here.
You sure did.
Uh-huh. And then we moved to the basement, right?
And what's the name of the church?
Well, they said keep the name, what? The change, they said keep it less like it was.
It's Faith Home Mission, but we call it Faith Apostolic because it's not a home mission anymore. So that's what's kind of been a little conflict as far as the name goes.
Mm-hmm.
But then in 1987, we moved down to the church, right? We moved out, we built the church.
Who built the church?
She did, we did.
Mm-hmm.
We built the church. The church. The people built the church in 1987. Mostly Mom.
Now that's not an organization church.
It doesn't belong to an organization. The members can affiliate with organizations. But
Yeah.
what she's trying to say is some organizations buy buildings or either loan money, but that is independent. It doesn't. Nobody owns part of the church other than the church family itself, the people in the church.
They came and dedicated and things like that, but still they didn't own it.
Mm-hmm.
And so as long as I can have service there, it'll be our church, but after so many years, I think you have to pay taxes or something. But I done got old now, don't worry about that. I let Aunt Ruth them worry about that one.
What about the wars?
Oh yeah, the war brought a complete change. From December 7th, Roosevelt, and when on the Isle of Yalta, everything changed. See, that was in 41.
People got jobs that didn't have jobs. Like Daddy was able to make more money.
Like from $1 a
our
day.
lifestyle improved when of the war. So Mom doesn't have a real negative attitude toward war, because she has always said, but when there's time of war, she thinks people do better because her experience is that when the war came, it brought jobs for Daddy, and it brought television, electricity, it brought stuff for us. So to her, it was, I see the world differently from the way she sees the world.
How do you see the world?
I see the world as I see it really, really less respectful, especially in the schools. The schools are so different now.
Well, yeah, they are.
And the schools are different, the students are different, and the system is so different. And it, to me, it's almost horrifying.
Thought she-
Because the children used to, you wouldn't dare disrespect a teacher. You wouldn't even sass her. See, now they curse them.
Oh,
You know, and
but
so that's different.
Mhm.
And they keep giving new programs, and the programs that they're doing is just for making money, because they'll start a new program, and this program is so important because this program is going to teach the children, and then they take that, then they in 5 years they come up with another program that's going to teach the children better, and it's just really about making money. It's really not caring about the children.
But really and truly, what the teacher, we've had teachers that didn't know how to act. And so a lot of times, I think sometimes the teachers brought it on themselves. Because there was a little girl went to school. She wasn't about 10, 11 years old. And it looked like the teacher just had a spite on her. She beat on her, and she beat on her. She beat on her. And finally the little girl said one day, "I'm going home." She said, "Well, go home." So she went off the hill crying. So they overdo or underdo.
That's true.
So sometimes teachers bring a lot of things on themselves. They brought some of this on themselves. They should. I don't think Aunt Ruth really knows how mean the teachers would really be. I think I caught that. I don't think Aunt Ruth's teachers. Did you run into some real mean teachers? How did Miss
I
Lizzie
sure
do?
did.
Huh?
I did.
You
I did, but I don't think
Not that mean.
I really did, and I still don't think that should eradicate, respectability. I think people,
Yeah, they should have
just
respect.
like they were responsible for treating the pupils right. The pupils should have been taught and be responsible for respecting people.
But
it
they
doesn't
didn't.
mean they don't get the support. I think they should have had family support and parent support when they were not treated right. I don't mean they should have just been able to mistreat the children. No, that's wrong. But at the same time, the same child that's disrespectful to his teacher, though, he's disrespectful to adults and to other children.
Yeah, life is different too now.
Yes.
And so, what I said, Jiggs, his name was Arvan. The teacher said, "I'm gonna whip you." So when she went to beating on him, he reached and got her arm. He bit it. Blood flew. He's about 9, 8 years old, little boy. "Get him loose! Get him loose!" All Jiggs held on to that arm, but she just whooped you for the fun of it. Looked like her dad said, "Every time I come down here, you whooping on the young one." He said, "I'll take the legs." So yeah, they was pretty rough. The teachers were mean.
Still are.
So a lot of times they brought a whole lot. Even though the children are so bad now, and really too bad, but the teachers were awfully mean.
How do you feel about the presidents?
How did I feel about the president? Well, I feel like that really and truly, the truth of it, I believe it's about 15 nations that are in cahoots. And one's not going to do much until the other say what to do or not. This president that's in,
Did you get to vote this time?
yeah, I always vote.
You've always voted. How long have you voted?
All my life, ever since I've been old enough. Yeah, I've always
Do you
voted.
get excited when you get to go vote?
I like to vote.
She cried when she voted. First time she voted for Obama. She cried.
So we've always voted.
Did you ever think an African American would become president?
Well, according to what my uncle would always say, he said the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So I think it's so much I think we need each other. And I think we're going to come into that one world government. Well, I may not live to see it. I hope, probably won't. I hope I won't. Probably I won't. But it's coming one day. There's going to be a ruler. And it's just going to be one. And that'll be a terrible time, won't it? I'm a very much Bible person. So I really go by the word. we'll come to that one world government. And I think that Obama, he's not going to do nothing till others decide do it. Somebody came on here not long ago, that game, and they put the shit the other day. A lot of people got killed up at that game they had running or something.
Right.
They soon catch it all up in that. But it was more to that than Obama. I think. Now me, I just think they're all in cahoots, and I think they all come together. And if you notice, I noticed the other day, said the old presidents, what's their name? What's it? Not Eisenhower, but what's the last name? They're two now. One's just been the president. Bush. Says two Bush still living, and there's another president there.
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton and this one. They all got together the other day. I think that they ain't gonna do. These people that's in the lead, they're not gonna do nothing till the other one says it's all right. And I believe our president that we have now, he's not gonna drop no bombs on somebody else way over yonder until everybody decides. Let's drop a bomb. So I don't believe he's just gonna do it by itself. What they say, they got how many nations, how many people fight, they just lose their breath. Because these brothers are sticking together. These leader people are going to sticking together. Our president ain't going to do nothing they tell him. That everybody's going to decide.
Yeah.
So, he ain't going to go out there and drop no bomb until he knows it's time to drop a bomb. And about 15, how many nations be done told him, drop the bomb. Then he'll say, we dropped the bomb.
Okay.
No.
I think it's both ways. I think they were already more respectful, but then they had somewhat fear. There were some things you would like to have said to your teacher, even when you were taught to be respectful. You would like to have sashed or done something smart at it, but you didn't do it because you would get a paddling. So they did have the paddle as a restraint, and which I think we need something for restraint, but I think we also need people are not kind to one another as they were.
You said the war was good. I mean, you had a lot of good things come out of the war.
What we saying, it relieved us a lot, me. Of course, I didn't know, like I said, I didn't grieve a lot about what might have been happening. But yes, I think that when the presidents got together and talked, I think the nations kind of come together. And no, I wish we wouldn't have a war, but it did help.
Do you like war? Or
No, I wouldn't. But
so you wouldn't go to war if you had to?
No, I wouldn't. Unless I had to, no. But after I had war, well, see, there were jobs. We got to drive cars, I did. It brought me a lot of freedom. Yeah, it brought the poor man. The real poor man, it brought him a lot of freedom. Even the white people and all of us. But the only thing about it is now we're into something that's brought a lot of heartache. They don't have no discipline. It seemed like they had more discipline then, more respect. Even the lady that helps me, she comes. And she's still respectful, I still feel respect. And I think there was more respect a long time ago for each individual than it is now. Seems like people don't respect each other. My doors are locked. My door shouldn't be locked. Everybody in the neighborhood should be come and say, well, how's this driver doing? How's Sister Driver doing? And open the door. But got to lock the door to keep the bad fella out. I was sitting on the sofa one day, and somebody opened the door, and I said, oh. And he didn't shut it, but he just eased it up a little bit, and then the girl come to help me that evening. She said, oh, my son was standing there too. She said, oh, somebody been in this house. So always thought people would get a gun because there's no guns here. But people now just might not get anything. So it's a lot of difference. It's a lots and lots of difference. Like my mama. Older people were mamas. Mamas now, you gotta catch them sometimes. You don't know where they're at. The mama's gone. You have the people that's come here. They tell me maybe the mama been gone for 7 years. And so we had to be mamas. The clothes
What did
had,
they used to call your mother? They used to call her Big Mama.
yeah.
Why did they call her Big Mama?
Well, she was just a big woman. Yeah. Oh, big mama. She was a big she was a big mama. She could cook. Oh Lord.
Did you cook your own food all the time, like chickens?
Oh yeah.
Did you pluck them?
Uh-huh. A little boy come one day, he like to never got over it. He's talking about it today. The one they talk about, he's up in Chicago. Said we
James.
gonna have fried chicken for supper. And he thought, well, I'm going to the store. I went outside and pulled the chicken's head off and dressed the chicken and fried it. And it excited him so bad, he's still talking about it. Said he didn't know you get a chicken like that. He thought you go to the store and buy it, you know. But honey, I've been there and done that.
We got water from the spring before we built a cistern. We have to tote water up the hill.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes.
What was your favorite thing to do when you were younger?
Lord, honey, I don't know.
When she was young, she was just having children.
Play ball.
Oh, Lord, yeah. I played ball, jump rope, you name it, and I done it. Oh, yeah.
Tell them how far you had to walk to school
Woo.
in the cold.
Yeah.
You told them that?
No, she didn't tell him how far. She told him she stayed over there one.
How was the school system for you? I know you only you dropped out at the 6th grade, correct?
Finished the 6th grade.
Sixth grade. So, tell us how
School was good.
far did you have to walk?
Now, at the end, the first year I went, I stayed with my Aunt Sarah, but we moved, and it was a long ways. But I didn't think about it being a long ways, because I don't remember getting cold. I didn't even, I had a good time, and don't remember too much. Anything about school? No, I think the highlights of that school was when Jiggs picked the teacher. I think that was that kind of saved the day.
Who picked the teacher?
When Jiggs picked the teacher. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, she told about that. You told about the blood running. You didn't tell them about the snot running out.
Oh,
You
oh,
said
Jiggs,
blood, that's snot.
Jiggs picked the teacher. And but I think at that time we'd have a good time at school.
The Jig be.
Because we
His
just,
name was Jiggs.
uh-huh.
When Jiggs bit
Now
the
his
teacher.
real name was Arvan.
But you all called him Jiggs.
Uh-huh.
Who was your best friend, Mama?
As a girl, Ella D.
Ella D. Is she still living?
No, she did. She died about Ella D been dead about a year, had she?
Close to it.
About a year.
I think that's it, Granny.
Oh, that's ridiculous. See, I can talk more. You got it cut off over there. I can talk more if you don't put on it.
You can talk more if it's not on. What do you want to talk about?
I feel like I said the wrong thing.
No, you're good, Granny. You did a great job.
Oh, Lord. See, when you got the thing turned on,
You get nervous?
yeah.
Can you also talk about Granddaddy and his shop?
Oh, we didn't talk about his
We
shop.
didn't talk
did we?
about in Poncho.
After
Hold up, Daddy, put the
after Dad retired from doing the concrete work, he built a little shed out there, a little shop, and he worked in a shop, and he whittled and collected the different things, and he liked to go to yard sales, and he'd go to estate sales and yard sales, and he'd buy a lot of stuff, and some of it would just be stuff.
His
And-
neighbors would come.
And what'd you say, Mom?
It was a good outlet for his neighbors
He
because they
enjoyed
would
it.
come and sit and get all the neighborhood news, you know.
He got very independent
Yeah.
doing this job. His voice changed when Dad was working and he working for people. He talked real soft. I would get so upset with him for, yes, Doc. He'd be talking real soft. And after he retired, his voice changed, and he was the man. He didn't talk, he didn't whine anymore. And so we appreciate he lived a good life of retirement. And he enjoyed whittling and whatever in his little store.
Yeah.
And he had a friend. This fella really likes him. Is Charles Huddleston would come and take him with him, and they would go to auctions. And so
What was Granddaddy's dog that always walked with him?
I'm trying to think.
Poncho?
Poncho. Poncho was his dog, and Poncho would make sometimes I forgot what they were, cats or chickens. It was some kind of animals would be in the way, and when Poncho would see Dad coming in his truck, he would run out there and run everything out of Dad's way, so Dad could come driving through. And Dad was so funny when he got really, really older. He said, I work, girl, I get tired, I just take my head and pull my body along. He would just walk along pulling his head
He was
to walk
smart.
along. He was so smart. He worked real. He just loved to work. Whatever he did, he liked to do it. And he stayed active until he died, just before he died. He would get up, he always dressed himself and came to eat, and he was funny. He was cool.
And you'd be surprised that 15 years different, I was kind of mousy, and he had learned to not. Some of the older people, they didn't tell much. So,
He had some words. He had some famous sayings, and one was grab a root and growl. You know, he'd say that. Meaning, if you were helping him do something and you were being slow about it, he would say grab a root and growl. What's another one, dude?
Do something if it's wrong.
You do something, gal, if it's wrong.
yeah.
You know, he would say that, and he'd call us gal. He didn't drink, smoke, do a lot of.
Said he never could hold a cigarette in a hole.
Said he couldn't hold while he held a cigarette.
Uh-uh.
Held a cigarette.
He said,
Couldn't hold while he held a cigarette.
never. And he didn't like to drink because it make him drunk. And so that was a no-no.
And he loved Mama so much. One time she had a blood clot, and she was very sick. I didn't know whether we would have to bury Daddy, because he just cried the whole time. Because he was he really was worried when she was sick that time. We went to the hospital and tried to dress her up, make her look better, so he wouldn't be worried.
Oh.
She's in the bed. We tried to make her look well, so he wouldn't be upset.
Mama, straight up.
We said, Mama, sit up. You know, pull her gown up. Her heart was beating
Yeah, I
like that.
bet.
We tried to cover it up.
Oh, no.
Talk about when you guys were on Crossroads. Tennessee Crossroads, Granny, for the oldest married couple in Tennessee. Can you tell us something about that?
Well,
They interview.
I don't know. Of course, I was lots younger. And I just don't know.
How old were you, how long were you and Granddaddy married when you were interviewed?
You know, I don't remember,
She thought 60 years.
but we went to Dixon and rode an old folks parade. I did. I was married to him 60 years then,
Oh,
So that must have been it a little while before.
okay.
That must have been some years before.
He lived to be 93, and they were married. I believe he's been dead 13 years. So
What year did he die?
he died in
2000.
2000. He was born in 1907. So they had been married 63 years, right?
96.
96 is what?
That's when the old folks parade was.
Oh, well, in 96.
So in
Was the-
1996 is when you guys,
They were in the old timers parade. And so they were married, what, 63 years? 64 years.
so how long were they married?
64 years they were married.
No, I would have been married 63 that June.
All right, she said 63.
Oh, we tough around here.
Okay.
They were.
Okay, cousin Mamie was being arrested, right? Wasn't cousin Mamie being arrested, Mom?
Yeah.
Okay, the man came down to arrest cousin Mamie,
And drove across.
and he told and Grandpa, who was Daddy's father, said, "Don't handle that rough, right?"
Yeah.
And didn't he hit Grandpa?
Yeah, the sheriff did.
The sheriff hit Grandpa and
Oh,
made him
Mamie grabbed him.
and grabbed,
Mamie had grabbed Papa.
to hold on to him,
Uh-huh.
and
But he was weak.
and the man hit him, made a bruise on his head. All right, Mom.
And they carried her to Charlotte, barefooted. And she said, well, I want to see Mr. Hickerson. And they didn't know that she knew he had no eye, that she knew him. And she said she wanted so much money out of the bank. And they got it. She paid her fine for them dragging her across the branch. They brought her home back. He said, y'all get this woman back home, barefooted and wet. So Dad and them had got in the car. There's about 3 of them, and they met them coming with her. And asked me the questions, honey, and then they got that. That's why they had to fight,
They met they were going to Dixon, right?
to pick her up.
To pick her up, and they met the
Charlotte,
and Charlotte,
And they met the sheriff bringing her back.
right?
She had paid her little fine because the boys had she had got arrested. The pigs, hogs had kept eating up the corn.
Neighbor's corn.
And the neighbor, she had put up the children had put up the hogs because they was eating up the corn. When they told their daddy told them, said that if it takes gun powder to kick them hogs, said shoot them or something. And the children just shot up in the air. They were just children because their daddy worked on the river. But anyway, she had went and paid the fine for the children shooting up in the air. And they didn't shoot at them. They just trying to scare somebody. But anyway, they got her. It was a big thing started just for that. And she was on her way back home, wet and barefooted, and because they had to drag her across the branch. The law scared her to death. And so they met the law, and that's why they had the smash.
Shootout.
It
It was a shootout, right?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't no shootout to them. That boys never had no gun.
Who didn't have any? William Boyd, they didn't have.
They didn't have no guns. So the sheriff was the one who had the gun. But anyway, the sheriff had shot two. And Kelly my husband, he knew him. So he just said, well, Leon, hold your fire or something. And anyway, one of the fellas that after he got shot, he had took the gun away from the sheriff and told him to drop your gun. If you don't drop it, I'll kill you. Because the other man had his gun on him. And he had been shot too. But he dropped his gun. And in Charlotte, they had the trial somewhat later.
But before the trial, Grandpa's sons.
Oh, yes, they had come down and brought the machine guns. I call them machine guns. The things they had got a hold of of the war. Someone was hauling the guns, and somebody throw them off, I think, or something, and they'd go back so far and pick them up. Somebody else would, not them. But whoever was driving the truck would have nowhere to throw them off, and they had got the machine gun. And somebody else had picked it up, and anyway, they brought it down, come out of Nashville. They told them, don't you go in that holler tonight. Somebody told them, them boys will get you. So did nobody. That was the end of that. They didn't go down there. But they eased up behind the house that next morning, up in the day, and 2 sheriffs came and they told me to tell Kelly to come to the courthouse out to Charlotte. And so they had a trial some while later, and said, well, show me how you hit him. You say you didn't hit him hard. That was Kelly's old daddy. So I guess the boy had got tired of the trial. He got up and tried to knock the judge or whoever, the little lawyer down. He just
showed me how you hit him, so you didn't hit him hard, huh?
And he like tried to, he just hauled with all he had. And of course, he kept to himself, but anyway, that ended the trial. Way later, Kelly came home, he told me, it's over. And everybody was looking for the trial. Way later, they was looking for the trial, but they never know. That was the end of it.
So, tell us about our great aunt.
But that was grandmama. The shooting.
What up? Talk about the great aunt in the picture, about how someone came to the house on the front porch.
That was granddad. That was
Say her name.
Granddaddy Kelly's mother.
Oh, that was great.
That's grandma. I'm my grandma.
So that's my great grandma.
Great grandma.
That shot the man.
That shot the man. That's great grandma. Okay. Great grandmama.
He shut the door.
This man, she was at home by herself at night with her children, probably, but without her husband. All right.
Yeah, because he worked on the river.
And the man, what did he do, Mom?
Where did he work?
He turned the doorknob. Her husband worked on the river. He was on the riverboat. Tom Driver worked on the river.
So Florida Driver
was his wife. And she said sometimes her brother would stay with her. So she said her big bad word. Thought that would kind of scare the man off. But she had a heater. She eased the door open, she said, and put a shell in the gun. And said she shot at the book. She slammed the door open, and she shot at the book. It was on the edge of the porch. And the man backed up the hill. So the next morning, the man, he's up her. So if her people come by and said, well, how you doing? She said, I shot a man last night. She said, oh, no. So he followed the tracks, the man backed. He didn't go far, he backed up the hill. He said the blood got so plain until he got scared and turned around and come back. And 3 weeks later, the doctor said he picked the bullets out of him, and the man died. And then there was nothing said or done about it. But everybody knew it around the neighborhood. Well, because the man just had no business going down there shaking,
And he wasn't going to tell him where he was.
No.
That's the point.
And so that was the end of that. So, oh Lord, some highlights. Yeah, them kind of stories, them are weird stories. These are whispered stories. The old folks don't let you tell them. There's a whole lot went on.
My dad had a brother that was he had different kinds of brothers, and one of his brothers was real cool, named Henry. He wore his hair long, and he what's that? What you go shoot? When you go out, put the ball in the hole.
Skeet? Oh, golf.
A ball. He golfed and things like that, and he kind of was like that. And then he had a brother named Jesse, and Jesse fought all the time. He didn't know how to take care. He just couldn't keep from fighting, so he got in trouble, and he didn't live very long. He had a brother named B. They called him BH, and he was short. and he liked to go around and tell stories and make people laugh and stuff. And he started the first bus so that we could go to school in Dixon. We went to Hampton High School, and we didn't have a bus. And he got a funeral car and drove that and took the children to. So he did start the first bus. That was that brother, and the other brothers we didn't get to know. So it was different.
Told her I drove the car and didn't know I wasn't supposed to drive, didn't I told that.
And we used to get our shots at the school. We would be 6 years old or 7. We wouldn't get shots as babies like they do now. Then when Mom took us, I remember that was one of the reasons she drove to school. She took us all to get our shots.
How did you all feel when you found out another baby was coming home? Since there's so many of you.
Most of the time I was happy. By the time she got to Jerry, I said, oh, not again. Yeah. But bless his heart, he was a sweetheart, pretty baby. But whoa, Mark was just a baby, and here came Jerry. And Kelly was a baby. You know, they were little. And I was tending, I was mama while she was gone to the hospital. I'm tending to them getting fat. For breakfast they had banana pudding every morning. And we ran out of bananas. We had vanilla pudding. Vanilla wafer pudding. Mama came home after she had Kelly. I was so fat my side was hurting.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Well, honey,
We
had highlights.
yeah.
I had a good
Mama
life.
washed on. Tell about when you washed, Mama. Oh man, when she washed
Oh
clothes.
Lord.
She washed clothes. Clothes would be as far almost as you could see hanging on line. And then Dad got a gasoline washing machine. We didn't have electricity. And she'd have to pump it and start it. And Mama would have those galoshes on. She wore those cut off galoshes. And she'd be upset, boy. She'd get that thing and it would go loud. And so it would make you nervous because it was loud like a tractor. And she'd be running and throwing clothes in that machine, boy. And that was a rough day. And I started cooking when I was 9 years old on wash day.
But you name it, and we almost been there. I don't care what you talk about or what's mentioned. It's what I say. We backed up the hill. We rode on the running board. We flew in an airplane. You just name it. I see it. Just about caught it when the change was coming. Says big change come there. And I remember we went to a neighbor's house once, and 30 airplanes went over. And we thought, the war's going to start. And she said, oh yes, things will be better if we have a war. But I don't remember, about one person got killed here during war. Did anybody else out of one?
Ain't Ethel's son.
Ain't Ethel's son. He got killed in the war, and the boy here got killed. And he's a bad fella.
Okay. So it's two.
Thomas.
Thomas's brother.
And that's why they didn't kill Thomas, because
She had lost a son. In war.
she had lost a son, and they didn't kill him. Because Thomas was a bad fella. I wasn't supposed to. You name it, and I've seen it, I've done it, and I've been there. Just whatever, might need anything. Just might need, just what you just.
You know, Thomas
My husband.
Bell, Thomas Bell, one of her cousins,
Uh-huh.
cut the lady's head off.
What, Daddy?
And in the bar, he had come from Germany. He'd been in war.
That's after he got home he did that.
Did he was
He killed Ma.
well? He killed Martha when he got home. Then he killed this lady in Auto too, and they also killed a woman in the war.
Did he
didn't
get arrested?
They sent him home after he cut the lady's head off, or something. Set it up on the bar. Ain't that
I
the
know.
one?
I
Well,
didn't know
don't say
that.
nothing that ain't true.
I didn't know that.
That was the
Yeah,
truth.
that
that was the
killing.
truth. That was the truth.
And the mail, I didn't know about him, what happened, how he done it, but the mailman wrote a letter from Ainetta and trying to explain things, and they didn't kill him over there. But it would have been better
Yeah.
because he come here, he done a whole lot of bad stuff. And somebody met him in Ashland City, and they let him out of jail or something. And I think it was LMA, and they had let him out because they trusted him. Oh, he was so sweet talking. And then she said she went around the corner and met him because she liked to fail.
I know what she mean.
Everybody was scared. Don't you remember? Everybody fastened up, and I left. Patricia stayed at home with me. The chickens, something, a dog or something slammed the door, and we just froze. We thought he didn't come down here. Everybody was scared.
Everybody was scared to death. We were so scared.
Cause Thomas wasn't nothing to play with. Thomas Bell was out to get you. If he had anything against you, and Zebby Glees was gonna kill him or something, and his mom and daddy sat on top of him and saved the day for that. So, oh yeah, his mama was even halfway scared of him.
You're still talking about the guy that cut somebody's head off?
Yeah. Thomas.
Do you know anything about that?
About what, huh?
Him cutting the head off. Cutting a woman's head off.
No more. We just heard that. You know, we knew they meant to kill him, and the mailman wrote the letter. They got
that was before he
over
came
in the
here.
war. That was over in England somewhere.
I don't know. What did he do to that lady? He killed a
He
lady.
killed her.
He killed a lady in service.
Yeah, he was served.
And he was sentenced to die.
But his brother had got killed
They,
in the war.
Since his brother had gotten killed at war, they did not kill him. They let him come home. And after he came home,
He done a lot.
we don't know how many people he did kill. We know he killed at least 2, at least.
And that boy at downtown was just as scared of him as he could be, Rosetta's husband. Oh, he was scared of Thomas. He told everything but what Thomas done.
Did Thomas shoot the lady in the head
He
while
might
she was
have
holding her baby?
Yeah, he killed a lady when she was holding her baby. He threw a little crack in the window. And that is the truth. A little crack in the window. He found a little, they had the window covered up, I think with newspaper.
Yeah,
But it was just a little space.
that's right down here.
And she had told her dad, and he said, Thomas says don't kill me. And he did.
And that happened right here. Right
Right.
mile from here. Oh yeah. A whole lot of things went on since I come to Bellsburg. But I learned to drive a car, and that's what kind of told the people all up. Oh, don't write that down, Val.
That's good.
Oh, Lord.
That's good.
Oh, Lord.
I guess that's all.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's good.
I had a good time.
We didn't want for that.
Didn't want for nothing.
Had plenty to eat.
Plenty to eat. My husband's a hard worker. He done his little dirt, I imagine, but
Had an orchard.
I know he
We
did.
always had plenty to eat.
Not, I imagine, I know he did. But he was, who was that pet behind that? I want me to tell it all.
Be quiet.
She want me to be quiet over here.
Yeah.
Who was that pet? Me want me to hush.
The boss.
Huh?
The boss.
I'm the boss.
No, I'm the boss.
Telling me to be quiet.